Good morning, everyone. Sorry I'm late. We had Hawaiian Airlines backed in front of us and we couldn't get out, so that's why we're late. Anyway, I'll get right into it. I know you guys have to head off to class, but I wanted to talk to you, thank you, about the industry overall, and then I'll get into Island Air. But if we take a look at the different markets, and you guys are all aware of what's going on in the various markets around the world, but these are the projections that DBED is putting out. And UHERO, which is another research firm, has very similar projections, where you see in 2017, out of the domestic US West, they're predicting a 2.5% increase in 2017, 1% increase in 18, and very similar in 19. US East, following very similar trends, with 2017 being the growth year at 4.8, and then it's slowing in future years. If we look at the Japanese market, same trend going on here, but a lot of these things are influenced by other factors in the market. So in the domestic US, it's the current environment that we're in terms of consumer confidence. When you get to the international markets, it's going to be varying factors like your currency exchange rates and other international variables. Canada, again, you see the 5.5, and then in future years it going down. Now this report, before I go any further, was done several months ago. Do you think that these numbers are really going to hold up with some of the things that we've experienced in the last month? You've got natural disasters that have taken place in the world. You've got the threats in other visitor destinations within the domestic market. You have international crisis going on in Southeast Asia. So I think these numbers are somewhat conservative, because where are people going to go? They're going to want to travel to someplace that is safe. Europe is already down and expected to stay flat, as well as Oceania, seeing a downward trend. China, following the same pattern, as well as Korea. So overall, when we're looking for the state in terms of arrivals, we're looking at 2017 being up at about 3.2%, and it's starting to slow going into 18 and 19. But what I want to bring your attention to is actually 2008, 2009. Anybody know what happened during that time? What was that? Financial crisis. What else? No. So you had the financial crisis. You had cost for oil going up to $150 a barrel, which affects your fuel costs for the airlines. And the other thing that came into play in this time period is Hawaii lost 2 airlines within 4 days. Aloha Airlines went out, and then soon after it, ATA, which was about 15% of the seat inventory into the state as a whole. And the only reason I want to spend some time on this, from a marketing perspective in the area of tourism, or marketing overall, one of the first things you need to be looking at is ease of accessibility. How does your customer get to you? If your customer can't get to you, you can't make the sale. We have absolutely no drive-in business to date. Maybe one of you are going to be able to work something out where that could be accomplished. But as of right now, the only accessibility into the state is either by air or by cruise ship. So while I was at the Hawaii Tourism Authority, this is where we spent most of our time, to create better ease of access and to be able to diversify the markets further. We spent a lot of time in the domestic US, which is a maturing market, but we had not so much impact in the international market. We were basically seeing arrivals from Japan, but we had nothing from China. We had very little from Korea. We didn't have anything we had, for a short period of time previous to 2008, we had travel from Taiwan, but they stopped. Canadian business had dropped off. And so creating ease of access is a key when you're developing your marketing strategy. And being able to diversify those markets is also important. Besides ease of access, you need to look at the different channels that you have to go through to make that sale. So this just gives you an idea from an airline perspective. You have your website, and from your website, you drive corporate business. You also have interline business, which is the partnership between the carriers. And for us, this is really a key because we have competition in the inter-island market that's also ventured in to the Trans-Pacific market and now has become a competitor of all the other airlines that fly into Hawaii. So now, if you were All Nippon Airways, would you fly your passenger over from Japan to Hawaii only to hand them off to your competitor, Hawaiian? So they're looking for a partnership that's going to be an alliance and will further help cultivate the business from the market overall. So interline agreements are very important. The global distribution network. This is the GDS system. This is the reservation system. It links between the different markets. You have different GDS systems that feed each market. Some of the most notable in the domestic US will be like Apollo, Sabre, Amadeus. But when you get into the international markets, they have GDS systems that are specific to their market, like Access, Infinity, that's found in the Japanese market. And then the travel agents. When the internet came on, a lot of the travel industry thought, okay, we can eliminate the travel agent, we can get the consumer direct, and that will help our margins. But what they forgot was these travel agents were acting on their behalf. They were becoming additional salespeople for them. So they initially thought they were going to eliminate this commission structure, but they quickly found out that it actually went hand in hand. There's a balance of business that you get direct, and there's a balance of business that you get from a travel agent, especially in the Hawaii market. And when I talk about the Hawaii market, one of the things you have to take into consideration is what makes a vacation in our islands. It's the air, it's the hotel, it's the rent-a-car, it's the attractions, it's the food and beverage outlets. If you're traveling on business, a lot of these costs are covered by your company because they're sending you out there to travel. If you're traveling on leisure, it's coming out of your pocket. So when do you think you tend to be a little bit more cost conscious? When it's coming out of your pocket, right? So it's important when you're looking at marketing your product, you take into consideration each of the segments and their costs and how they impact the total sum. What is the consumer at the end of the day going to end up? Is it a $120 round trip on Island Air, or is he going to be paying $4,000? He's going to be paying the $4,000. So all of these things need to be taken into consideration when you're looking at the different channels to drive revenue. Your hotel partners, I just talked about, your tour operators and wholesalers, all of these become marketing opportunities for you in the buying channel process. Just a little bit about what we have to deal with as an airline. We're dealing, of course, with Customs and Border Patrol, TSA. We have regulations from the State Department of Transportation as well as the federal. We have the FAA that governs us on the ground as well as air traffic control that governs us in the air. And then the International Transportation Association, or IATA, who takes a look at air transportation globally, and we all have to submit to the safety management system. IATA is a little bit more advanced than the FAA requirements, but all of these things come into play. All of these things add costs to what an airline provides. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Island Air. Island Air originally started back in 1982 as Princeville Airways, and the service was between Honolulu and Princeville Airport in the northern tip of Kauai. A few years later, Princeville Airways was purchased by Aloha Airlines, and it became known as Aloha Island Air. Aloha Island Air then serviced all the secondary airports in the state, like Molokai, Lanai, Kamuela, West Maui. So these are some of, bless you. So these are some of the cities that they served. In 2012, Larry Ellison bought Island Air and took it over and ran it until 2016, where a local group of investors partnered with Larry Ellison, and we entered the market, or entered into the picture, in February of 2016. Since that time, when I first came on in February of 2016, we had 226 employees. So in a matter of a two-year span, we've grown our employee group. We've transitioned out of the old aircraft that we used to fly, which were ATR 72s. It was not a good model. We had 5 aircraft, but because they were so old, we had to fly 3 of them, keeping 2 as spares in a ready position in case there were any mechanicals. We'd be able to substitute one of these aircraft in. The other inefficiency that we had was that we had to space our schedule so that we could anticipate mechanicals, so that we could keep the customer on time, so that there would be some reliability, so that we could build customer confidence in the airline. So right now we're serving Maui, Kauai, and Kona. This just gives you a look at our aircraft. We're flying Bombardier Q400. It is the newest aircraft for this distance of travel. It comes with noise dampening, vibration dampening systems within the aircraft. If any of you have those, well, almost all the headsets now have noise dampening features to it. Well, this is throughout our cabin. So if you ever get a chance to fly on us, you can see the difference in the sound level within the cabin. This is our operations, our dispatch office. A little bit about the different safety measures that we take. We've just been through our second IOSA review, which is a global safety review. We've also gone through what is called a code share audit with United Airlines. There's the interline agreements that I talked about, and then there's a code share. A code share is you're basically tied at the hip. You'll show your flight numbers as your code share partner's flight numbers. So if we called out, you've been at the airport, they call out Island Air flight 424 or United flight 576. So that's a code share relationship. So we get scrutinized by that code share partner for service levels and standards, because they want to make sure that their customer that's coming through and transferring to us is going to have the same level of service as they would on United Airlines themselves. we had 30 pilots when I started. We're actually up to 71 right now. And also flight attendants, we had 28, and now up to about 63. Our maintenance facilities, if you had seen Island Air before in our maintenance facilities, you wouldn't have flown on Island Air. So all of this has been cleaned up, it's been straightened out, and a lot more attention is being given. And this is just showing you the arrival of our new aircraft and the dedication that took place back in January of this year. And we have here Hilo in November. We decided that we're pushing that back. Hilo will hopefully happen before the end of the year, and we'll have all the major airports in our route structure. Our holding areas. This is the seat inventory increase that we've seen throughout the different markets that we're serving right now. Our flight schedule, to give you an idea of our frequency between these islands. And I think something that's important to all of you, we have a standby fare. Have any of you used it? Did it work? Okay, I'm going to give you a secret. Take the first flight of the day, because then you don't have to stand by. Because there's very little people on our first flight of the day, so you're almost guaranteed you're going to get on. And then come back on a later flight. $49 standby fare. There's no reason you guys shouldn't be seeing the neighbor islands on Island Air. This will give you an idea of our on-time performance and reliability. This is something that everybody tracks. Because we're a small carrier, we don't need to put this out publicly, but we do, because Island Air's reputation was so bad that what's left in people's mind is the fact that we were delayed or the flight was canceled. And so now we're putting this information out on a monthly basis, showing you our on-time performance and reliability. So this is departures within 14 minutes, which is considered on time. And completion factor of our flights. This will give you an indication of how many flights we in fact canceled during the course of the year. These are all of our interline partners. These are all the carriers that are coming into the state. Southwest just made an announcement yesterday. We've been in discussions with them for quite a while. Scoot made an announcement recently as well. And you see all these international carriers. The carriers with the asterisk on the domestic side are carriers that also have international service. United flies into Japan and other areas, as well as Delta and Hawaiian. And our interline partners, these are just a few of the people that we have, our co-chair partner. And just the layout, this is actually, we are actually going to be moving in 2018. I'm not sure why we put this on here, but this will give you guys what's going to be happening to us. We're going to be moving over to the opposite side of the terminal in the Gate 6 area. That shaded area is where we're going to take up. They're going to create customer parking where you see that freight building right now, and there's a little bit of customer parking. Is there a... Oh, right here. Okay. And this is what it's going to look like when it's all said and done. We'll be right under United Airlines. There'll be escalators going up to the second floor. This will, again, make ease of access, keeping our travelers in the sterile area. Just a layout of that plan. And I'm just going to go through all of this. This is what... And some of our neighbor island airport locations. Maui, Kona, some of our top accounts throughout the world that we deal with, corporate accounts. There's a balance of business that we take in. So if you look at our schedule, during the course of the day, the middle of the day is when we have the bulk of our business because of all of the interline partners, all the passengers that are connecting off of the trans-Pacific flights going to the neighbor island. So to fill the front end of the day and the back end of the day, we go out and we find corporate accounts that will use us. There's quite a few companies that will fly early in the morning, go out to the neighbor island, conduct their business, and come back in the evening. And so this becomes an important part of the market mix that we have. And just a few of the features that we have. The branding elements, we've kind of evolved into the Island Way. We just came out with a new campaign, this place called Home, with Kapono Nailiili is the artist that's behind the music there. Can we show this? Will it come up? No. Okay. Again, I apologize for being late. Any questions? Will it have any impact on Island Air? Okay. Yes, it will. And there's two, anytime there's more seat inventory coming into the state, Island Air is going to get a percentage of the business that traffics out from Honolulu to the neighbor islands. When I was with the Hawaii Tourism Authority and we're trying to recover the seat inventory back into the state, one of the things that I had suggested to a couple of carriers, Alaska and Southwest, is to do crisscross itineraries. So what I mean by that is if I have a plane originating in Los Angeles and a plane originating in San Francisco, say the San Francisco aircraft goes San Francisco direct to Maui, and then from Maui, Honolulu, Honolulu, LA. The aircraft originating in LA would do the reverse. LA, Honolulu, Honolulu, Maui, Maui, San Francisco. So we proposed that to both Alaska and Southwest because we thought Southwest was going to come much sooner than what they've announced. The problem with that is with the type of aircraft that they're flying, most of the fuel consumption is on takeoff and landing. So they're going to have quite a bit of operational costs for that short leg. So they're going to have to look and see if it's their own customers and they can work that into their pricing strategy, it might make sense. But to run that solely as a, Honolulu, Maui, Maui, Honolulu segment, I'm not sure they're going to be able to generate the revenue they need to offset the operational costs. Good question. Yeah.
How did your career in airlines start?
Okay. Did you, I don't know what you covered. Okay. No.
I don't know how your career is.
No, but did you give them?
I told them your past careers.
Okay. So actually I started in the airline business back in 1977. I started with Continental Airlines, and then Continental at that point was going to leave Hawaii, so I went to an inter-island carrier that had started up called Mid-Pacific Air. And then from Mid-Pacific Air, I was put into sales. I then moved, they asked me to move to the West Coast to open up a regional sales office. So that's really where my career in airlines started. I'll be very honest with you, I was a little older than you, just starting a family, and I looked at the airline business and I said, man, this is not a stable business. At any given time, they can pick up their planes and they can go someplace else, and then I gotta move. And I didn't want to move. I wanted to stay here in the islands. But because of everything that happened. In LA, after opening up the regional office for Mid-Pacific, Sheraton Hotels came and asked me to do a similar office there. So I cut a deal with them. I said, I'll open up your office, but you got to promise you move me back to Hawaii. And I looked at it and I said, with the hotels, they can't pick up and move. So I have a better chance staying in Hawaii working with a company like that. So I spent most of my years with the hotels. And then in 2007, I went to the Hawaii Tourism Authority. And then from there, came back to the airlines. And now I remember why I left them in the first place. Yeah. Any other questions?
Does Island Air do a vacation product that you partner with package hotels, rental cars? How does that work?
Yeah.
How important is that to your business?
It's very important. You know, that segment of the business, we partner with all the major tour operators, wholesalers, online travel agencies like Expedia and Priceline and the rest. So it's a huge piece because this is a leisure destination. A lot of them source those resources when planning their vacation. So we have a partnership with all of them. Yeah.
I have a question, David. You talked about different market segments and how you've got the inbound traveler, but then you have the locals. What % of your business is local, and is there an optimal mix that you're trying to achieve?
Yeah, you know, we thought that we were going to get about a 60-40 mix with 60% local, 40% inbound traveler. It actually flipped on us considerably. We're at about 80% inbound traveler, in part because of our competition's position in the Trans-Pacific market and those carriers not wanting to hand off their passengers to their competition. We're only about 20% in the local market, and that's something that we're working on. Yeah.
Where do you get the better prices, inbound or local?
Inbound. Yeah. Yeah. Before I go any further, I want to introduce Bryson Tolentino, who's with us. He's a sales manager, and he's an alumni of BYU Laie. So Bryson, can you stand up? Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah?
How many aircraft do you say you have?
We had 5 aircraft. Yeah, we're right now in transition. We had some older aircraft that we transitioned out because of maintenance, and we're right now looking at getting additional aircraft.
And does the airline support any project in order to reduce carbon dioxide?
Yes, in fact, our aircraft is probably one of the lowest producing with the carbon footprint. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.